So, just to jump right into it, we're going to talk about The Disaster Artist. And none of the other guys saw it. I'm the only one who saw it. And it's basically, if anybody knows, it's the story of Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero and how, which is actually based on Greg Sestero's book, The Disaster Artist, which he wrote about his experience making The Room with Tommy Wiseau and that whole experience of being one of the best, worst movies ever made.
The best, worst movies. Nice.
Yeah. And I actually saw The Room for the very first time a couple of days ago, and seeing it, I mean, it is very funny, and I guess I see why people would say it's one of the worst movies ever made. But to me, I've seen movies much worse. I mean, I've seen epic movie, disaster movie, movies like Hottie and the Naughty. You know, I mean, I think films like that are way worse than something like this, because like those are big Hollywood kind of budget type of movies. You're getting paid millions of dollars, you know, tens of millions to make a product, having a real super professional crew to come out and do it. I think that's way more responsibility on you to make a good product rather than a guy who's like, he self-finances his own thing and, you know, he's kind of doing it on his own. Even though there's a lot of speculation about Tommy Wiseau, I mean, because he's a very mysterious kind of figure as far as where he got his wealth. Because reportedly the budget for The Room exceeded $6 million. And now where he got all that money from, nobody really exactly knows. Like, he just says he used to sell jackets. Like,
does it seem like he spent that much to begin with?
Well, yeah, because it says how the movie says how when he was doing the movie, how he bought all the film equipment, like film and HD. I mean, and digital. So he did both at the same time when he was filming it. Which normally people just do one or the other. He did both, and he actually bought the equipment. And you know how expensive.
That's pretty impressive. Most people just rent it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you know how expensive film equipment is, and he just was like, "I'll just buy it." And they was and you know, and they have nice little, you know, cameos from other, you know, actors who come in there, like Hannibal Buress, Jason Mantzoukas. They're in it, and they're the people who he goes to get the equipment. And they were like, "You want to buy it?" He was like, "Yeah, I'll just buy it. I'll just do it." And he's like,
"He's got a plan for the Disaster Artist 2 and 3, man. Gotta think ahead."
I mean, I guess so, because he's just like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey."
To be fair, with how much people have bought this movie, it's made its money back.
Yeah, that is very true. Like, now that it's, you know, The Room has reached this cult status, and, you know, so many people have these traditions when going to the film. Like, you know, throwing spoons at the screen because they have spoon art, you know, throughout the movie and all that type of stuff. So they have their own like traditions when they go see the movie. So it has kind of recouped its money over the years, being like this cult hit, constantly playing and sold out, you know, selected theaters.
Could I also add that when people have a low budget movie, people often look at that and say, "Oh, well, that's not going to be a good movie." It's kind of like how people look at indie games.
I mean, sometimes. I mean, we've seen some. I mean, independent films that have been really good. That people, who, like for instance,
spend like $1 on.
Oh, we say?
Oh no, I'm just saying movies that spend basically $1 on, like compared to these high budget movies.
Oh yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
I mean, also to be fair, when you include video games, it's more in particular to some, but that stigma has long kind of been worn off at this point, and now it just means, oh, well, you made it a video game on a lower budget.
Yeah, and I agree with
That's
that.
all it really means.
But like you said, there's just some out there that I don't know how many it would be, but there's some that would still say like, oh, well, it has to have a certain amount of money into it to release a product that's good enough in their quality, in their idea.
Yeah, and I mean, this was a guy that he had Tommy Wiseau had the earnestness about him to do it. It's just that he didn't have the talent. And, you know, the movie Disaster Artist, you know, really explores that because it has James Franco as Tommy Wiseau, who I think he does a good job as Tommy. But I mean, have you ever heard Greg Sestero? Because who's Tommy's friend, and he's the guy that he made The Room with him. Greg Sestero, like, I've been listening to the audiobook of the Disaster. He does a really good, spot on impression of Tommy.
Okay,
like, really, really nice, really good, spot on impression.
Rod Barron had his camera ready. Tommy stood next to him, sugar-stoned and chattering away. Make sure you get this thing. Details, Mr. Cameraman.
James Franco, he comes here, and it's good. I think it's solid. I mean, some people are considering maybe he might be getting nominated for Oscars. I don't think it's that great for him to possibly be nominated for Best Actor, Oscar-wise. But, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be that mad if he got nominated. I think it's good, but I think it still comes off as a little bit of just like a guy doing an impression of someone else, not really him embodying that person, per se. And Dave Franco, who's James Franco's brother, he comes in as Greg Sestero, and his role is more understated. It's not as showy as a role like Tommy Wiseau, because Tommy Wiseau is just such this enigmatic figure, it's like so engaging, because they constantly talk about how he looks like a vampire, and Frankenstein, and I mean those are actually some of the funniest moments in the movie of how they call him a vampire rapist. They constantly make fun of him for just looking weird and wearing all these different clothes that don't go together. And Dave Franco, I mean, him playing Greg, I mean, he's playing a guy. Like I've seen different stuff with Greg Sestero. I mean, he's a guy. I mean, there's not really much that's identifiable about him. And he's just some regular guy kind of being swept up by the craziness that is Tommy. And what you really enjoy about the film is that how you can see why they kind of hook up with each other, because Greg is someone who just is very insecure. He's somebody that doesn't have that confidence like Tommy does. Like Tommy, like this is an early scene, really beginning of the movie, where Greg's in acting class and he just can't project. He can't, break out of his own safety, his own safe place. He's just constantly so, kind of like a wallflower. But Tommy comes up there and he just does it all. Like he, rides around on the ground. He climbs a beam. He, just jumping around. Like, he does all this stuff. He just puts it all out there and doesn't care what anybody thinks. And, Greg just looked at it and was like, I just really admire that, the way he's able to do that. And maybe I can learn from you and get some things from you.
When I get up on stage in front of people, all I can think about is, what if they laugh at me? You, man, you're fearless. I want to feel that too.
I don't care. I'll do it.
And you can tell Tommy looks at Greg, because Greg is everything Tommy kind of wants to be, at least looks-wise. Because, Greg's got the look. Because, he used to be like a model. He used to model for like Ralph Lauren and all these big, other major fashion places. He used to model for them. So, he's got the look. He's tall. He's good looking. So Tommy looks at him and is like, like I think he looks at him and is like, that's a guy that I want to be. Because, like I said, he's, quite weird looking. And Greg can walk into any place and get booked by an agent because he's just got that good look. And I think a lot of that's because that's the real heart of the movie, is their relationship. And it's, kind of a very Tommy and Greg against the world type of thing. It's like, we're going to go to LA and we're going to take it over. And it's going to be you and me, man. And then when they actually, get there, it's like, wow, this is kind of hard. Because they keep getting told no after no after no after no. And especially for Tommy, because, I mean, obviously he looks way older than what he claims to be. Because that's also another part of his mystery is, people don't know how old he is. People don't know where he's from. I Googled, it said he's 62 and from Poland.
What?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they say. Because he always says, I'm from New Orleans, because he has this weird accent. And people say, oh, I'm from New Orleans. It's like, no, you're not, bro. And he says, I was born in the bayou. It's like, I don't know what bayou you came from. I don't know if that bayou had radioactive waste in it. Because ain't no way you from the bayou. I don't know where that accent is from, but it's definitely not from New Orleans. But, he still maintains that. He has actually, in real life, Tommy has actually gone after people who've tried to like reveal that information, like how old he is and where he's from, and he's actually tried to sue people for things like that. But I think that's what's really good about this movie is the fact that because they treat him like this kind of like kind of mystery, and how he's this guy who you don't know really how to get a feel off of him. Like he's kind of weird. He's kind of strange, but that's also kind of fun, because he's got that confidence. He just puts it all out there. And one of the best elements of this movie, I think, is the humor of it. Because I think it's really funny. I think it's one of the funniest movies I've seen all this year. Like I was in the theater, I was like laughing out loud, and I rarely really ever do that in a movie. I usually, I maintain my laughter. You know what I mean? Like, but this movie, I mean, there was lots of scenes where it was just like really funny, really, really well done. And some of the scenes, because a lot of them is making the room, and I think not only do some scenes come from laughing at a lot of stuff that you know from the room, like them doing all like the biggest scenes, like the high mark scene.
Action!
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Can't remember the line. They do it 60 times. They can't remember it. The scene where they're doing the mother talks about how she has cancer, all this different type of stuff. I think they also do other stuff in the film of him working in it, of not just the stuff from the room, which I think is nice. The humor doesn't only rely on recognizable recognition humor, like, oh, I know that from that part and that's from there. I think they also do their own stuff that's also pretty good, that works well. I think, one of the things that I don't like so much about the movie is that, because I think listening to the audiobook, because I'm very curious to how people respond to this movie reading the book coming into this movie. Because when you read the book, I'm halfway through it right now, and there's so many different crazy stories and how kind of crazy Tommy was that they don't really delve into too much in the movie. Like, they have some scenes in the movie where he is an asshole and he is kind of a jerk, that he is mean, but I bet you had to sign off by Tommy that it's like, okay, well, maybe you have a couple of scenes in the movie where I'm kind of mean, but let's not do that all the time, and because, the way Greg says it, Tommy was very manipulative, very deceiving, and, at some points very mean to other people, even before they were making the room. And they don't really get into that much. And, the movie kind of just has that fast pace of going from scene to scene to scene, which is not necessarily bad, but it just doesn't have that fast pace. It doesn't really delve into things a whole lot, I think, which is somewhat of a detriment to the film, because you really want to have a little more interactions with the actors and everything. Who worked on the room. Like, what was that experience like for those people just to be sucked into this dude's vortex? And like I said, Tommy making this movie, and, renting out this big, premiere and everything like that. Again, where this dude got all this money from, nobody knows, but the fact that he's able to rent out a theater for 2 weeks to keep showing his movie so it can qualify for the Oscars is, just ridiculous. Because they portray it as like when he, first screened the movie, that, when people were laughing at it, he was crushed at first, but then like immediately kind of was like an overnight thing, like he got over it. I bet you that took forever for him to finally get over that, because people laughing at your movie, something that you put all this work, time, and dedication into, I bet you that really devastated him and really just kind of, broke him. But they don't really get into that much, because I think the second act of the movie leads, between a rift, and then usually that'd be the end of the second act, and then moving on to a more other third act, and then, okay, maybe you see a reconciliation, but it just kind of, okay, they do the movie premiere, and then they, he screens the movie, people laugh at it, and then he's like, hey, man, at least people like it and enjoying it. I like to see Tommy really struggling with that a little bit more. They could have showed that, just to give a little bit more extra time, showing how he really, because now he says it was all, it was all part of the plan. Like, yeah, I meant for it to be kind of like a satirical, dark comedy.
No, but you can tell that it was earnest 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes it so, because you can't make a movie like this intentionally, like this.
Right. It's too perfect. You are the greatest actor in the world, making such great, unbelievable decisions.
Yeah, I mean, it's just no way. It's just no way you did that intentionally. But he tries to play it off now, and now now it has this cult following. He's embraced it more because obviously it's made him money, and he's done all these things, and now he's branding. So and now a lot of people want to drag him around, and he's got all these big fan base.
Other movies,
that
are similar. He's made other movies in the vein that they're supposed to be funny on purpose. And most people are like, no, that's not what we like your movie.
Yeah, like, cause then he didn't he have like a somewhat of a like a TV show on Hulu called Neighbors or something like that? Was that? Yeah, which I haven't, because he's never replicated any of the same success as far as fan wise as he did with The Room. Like, that was just the best happy accident ever. And you have people in the movie like Seth Rogen, like Paul Schaefer. Like, Seth Rogen plays the script supervisor, who he's like us, like the audience, who's like, well, why don't you, like, he's trying to shoot scenes in the alleyway when there's a real alleyway outside. He's like, well, why don't we just go outside and do the real alleyway? Like, why don't we just do that? He's like, because this is real Hollywood movie. This ain't no. He constantly says this ain't no Mickey Mouse stuff. He always constantly says that. Like, he's like, I was like, okay, well, I'm getting paid, so whatever, I guess so. Sure, bro, go ahead.
Say, hey, look, it's a homeless guy.
Yeah, like, so it's like, whatever you want to do, man. So I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. I laughed a lot. It would be very interesting to see somebody who's really read the book to see coming into this how they receive it. But because I heard the book is really very interesting because it gets into a lot more crazy stories. But I thought this movie is not just a big meta in joke. I think somebody who hasn't even seen The Room can come in and like it, and laugh at it and enjoy it, and maybe they discover themselves. Find it with themselves, like, oh yeah, this is a movie called The Room, and maybe they look at it for themselves. So I definitely give it a high tune in. I like to see some other movies this year, but I could see this movie being on my top 10 favorite movies of the year, honestly.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I just had a lot of fun watching it. It was really funny. Like I tell you, when they make fun of him, I said, like, this dude's crazy. This dude's an idiot. And then when they call him a vampire rapist and all this other stuff, and like Frankenstein, and they said, like, well, have you ever tried being a villain? Like everything, because you got that voice, everybody do that. He's like, I'm not villain, I'm hero. That's what I am. And he's like, he keeps saying that, like, because they're like, dude, you are not a hero.
That hurts a little.
Yeah, that's why, because when you watch The Room, it's like, it's definitely somebody who was narcissistic and a little bit a need to be loved, because it's like everybody in the movie, in The Room, they all love him. They're all friends with him. Everywhere he goes, everybody says hi to him, greets him. Oh, Dusty, you about to say something?
Oh, I just say, did they get into the mafia connections with him?
No, they don't do that.
Yeah, that's just like a rumor that he might have, like, that might have been mafia money, or it might have been something, or no, but sense. Yeah, especially in the movie, if you've ever seen it, everyone's always saying, "Oh, Tommy's such a great guy, such a great guy. Thanks, Tommy."
Yeah,
like just this constant need to be peppered with admiration
and
praising.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it's I mean, I think it's definitely something to see. Yeah. Hello, thanks for checking out our content. If you liked it, let us know, and if you didn't, let us know that as well. If you want to see more content, we post every Saturday on SoundCloud and YouTube at The Afternoon Tune. You can also find us through various social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all one word, at The Afternoon Tune. And if you don't deal with any of that social media stuff, you can also find us through our email at theafternoontune@gmail.com. And don't forget to always stay tuned.